Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to quickly check out Johari. This game is for 2 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, with an average play time of 60 minutes. So the idea of this game is sort of like the game Jaipur, if you've ever played that. In fact, they take place in the same location, Jaipur. Well, in this game, it's 2 to 4 players, unlike Jaipur, which is only 2 players. You're trying to basically gather gems, and whenever you gather gems, you move up the score track here, and at the end of the game, wherever your gems happen to sit is how many points you end up scoring, and whoever has the most will win the game. So if at the end of the game I have my white gem here, this is worth 11 points. I don't know if you can see this or not, but this is worth 14, 16, and 18. You add those up, that's your sum, and then you compare that with the other players. And again, whoever has the most wins. Now, how do you go about moving these gems up this tracker? Well, that's where this board comes into play. There's a lot going on here, and I'm not going to go over everything, but I'll just try and give you a brief overview. There is a money track here. There's one token for each player in the game. It supports up to 4, but I have a 2-player game set up. There's more in the bag here. Oh, speaking of baggies, one complaint I do have, the game does not come with a box insert or anything like that, no baggies. It's just this. So you've got all of these cards here that sort of just scatter around in this box when it's not being used. So I've had to use my own rubber band and baggies just to hold everything together. But that's a complaint more for a review. But anyway, getting back to this, you've got a money tracker here. Each player starts at 15, and the person on the bottom gets to take one of these cards at the beginning of the game. Speaking of cards, you've got a lot of these cards here. These are gem cards. Some of them are legitimate, some of them are fake. The ones that are fake have this little supervisor symbol on the very top. It's a little brown face there. That's a counterfeit gem. And if you get caught with those, well, you can get in trouble. But if there's no counterfeit symbol, then, those are the genuine article. In order to set up the game, you're going to go ahead and shuffle this entire stack of gem cards. You're going to lay out a number of cards in the store up here equal to the number of players. When you do that, you put the white gem, or the white cards up above the white gem slot, and the red cards above the red gem slot, blue, green, and there's gold over here. So there's a place for each gem type up here. Down here, you've got like a bazaar of sorts, and basically here, you just put one card out for each place at the beginning of the game. In a 3-player game, you're going to have another card here, and a 4-player game, you're going to have another card here. But in a 2-player game, you're just going to have these 4 out like this. So you've got a store up here, you've got a bazaar down here, and players will be able to take these. And basically, it's a set collection kind of thing. Throughout the game, you'll be able to sell to both a jeweler and a collector, and the way you turn these in differ. Whenever you sell to a jeweler, you have to sell you have to basically discard 4 different types of gems. So in this upper example here, this person turned in a red, a white, a green, and a blue, 4 different types. Or you can use a gold if you have it, which acts as a wild card. And then whatever one you pick one color out of these 4, and that's the one that you score on your board here. So if this player were to turn in this top set, I would more than likely choose to pick either red or blue because there's the most gems on it, and that's how many spaces I would move up along the track. So in this set of 4, if I chose red, then I'd go ahead and move 1, 2, 3 up like that, and I'd be there. So that's if you were to sell to a jeweler. If you were to sell to a collector, on the other hand, basically you have to sell all gems of one type. And basically you have to have them, you can only sell gems to a collector if another player has gems of the same type. Because what you're going to do is you're going to take the number of gems in that set. For example, let's say that this player here wanted to sell this set of 7, and the second most player here has 3 gems in their possession. You take 7 minus 3, that's 4. So you would move the red gem 4 spaces up the track. Again, there's a lot here, and I apologize if I'm jumping around and not making a lot of sense. But I'm trying to give you a brief overview of what's going on. You've also got these cards here, and basically these guys will come out every round, and the way you set these up, you've got more off to the side here. But you're going to take 4 cards from each deck. There's three decks, one with a 1 on it, one with a 2 on it, and one with a 3 on it. You're going to take 4 threes, 4 2s, and 4 1s. You're going to put the 3s on the bottom, the 2s on the middle, and the 1s on the top. And then you're going to take 2 of those and place them out like this to set up the game. So there's 2 more 1s here, then you're starting to get into the 2s, and then under that are the 3s. And every round more will come out. And these will slide to the right. If they slide off the table, then you lose them forever. And there's a little number here below each space. That's how much they actually cost in terms of gold in order to buy these cards. And these cards will, will give you immediate effects, or possibly an effect for the end of the game, that kind of thing. For example, this one here says sale. When selling to a jeweler, you only need to have 3 different types of gems. This says play immediately. Place this card in one of your card slots. Action cards played in this slot cost 1 fewer gold. What does that mean? Well, again, I'm jumping around a bit here. In the course of a round, or a course of a day, there are three parts to a day. There's like morning, afternoon, and evening. And depending on what you play on these spaces, you'll have different cost requirements. Each player will get a deck of cards, and they're the same in each deck. And basically, these are different actions that you can take. So basically, players are going to play cards. First, they're going to play in the morning. This costs no gold to do that. And then if they, or actually no, this costs the full price of whatever's listed on the card itself. And you'll see the price listed on the bottom there. This one doesn't require anything. This one costs 2 gold. So whenever you play that card, you'd be subtracting that amount from your gold tracker. But if I were to play sale, for example, here, I'd pay 2 gold and move my tracker down by 2. But if I were to play it here, it says to take 2 gold away from the cost. So I could play this card for free here. Same thing over here. This says basically I can play any card for free there, which is really nice. So there are certain cards in the deck that cost a lot, some that are free. So you're going to want to take a look and see, okay, which cards do I want to play in the 3 different parts of the day based on their cost and based on what other players are doing. Again, a lot to take in all at once, I know, but I'm doing my best here. So yeah, that's basically, I think, all of the components. I don't think I missed anything. So in terms of how the game is played, there are 3 different parts of a round. There's replenishing the market, 3 market rounds, and then the end of the market day. And replenishing the market, basically it's the same thing that you did to set up the game. You're going to draw, actually you're going to move these to the side like this, and then you're going to draw another one and put that there. And then basically these become cheaper until they end up falling off the board. Unless you buy them, of course. There's cards in the deck that allow you to do that. And then you're going to go ahead and draw a card equal to the number of players and put them in the appropriate spaces. So that's red, this one's white, that goes there. I didn't shuffle these very well, did I? Alright, looking for a different one. There's a lot of cards here, so my shuffling probably wasn't all that great. I did this sort of haphazardly. Alright, so we'll do that one there. And then you're going to do 1 for each player down here as well. You're just going to put them, okay, so there's 1 there. It doesn't matter. Okay, that's victory points. That's sapphire. Okay, and that there, okay. Now, with regard to these gold ones, by the way, whenever you acquire these, you can do one of 2 things with them. You can play them immediately, and that'll grant you the number of gold on the tracker equal to what's shown here, in this case 3. Or you can keep it as a wild card. Again, you can use these wild cards and turn them in whenever you're trying to sell to a jeweler. So yeah, you can do whatever you want with that. And again, victory points is just flat out victory points for the end of the game. So that is basically filling up the market. And again, I apologize if I missed something. And then after that, you're going to go ahead and do the 3 market rounds for the day. Players are going to take a look at their cards, and whoever's in front, whoever has the most money, will get to go first. Or whoever's on bottom, or whoever's on top of the stack gets to go first if they happen to be on top of each other. But let's say that I was here and black was back here. Brown is definitely out front, so they would be able to go first. And to do that, they take a look at their hand. And there's a sale card here. You can sell gems from your display to jewelers or collectors. So that's what I was talking about earlier. When you're selling to collectors or jewelers, you have to use the sale card. That costs 2 gold to do that. You've got Baksheesh here, which is a free card to play. Move your gold token on the gold track 2 spaces forward. It's free to play. So you may want to play that here because there's no cost associated with it. And here you pay full price of whatever card you play here. So that might be a good starter card to play, depending on the situation. There's also this exchange here. Exchange one of your gem cards with another one of the same type from one of the stores or brazier booths. And basically, let's say that you have some counterfeit in your hand. You've got some of these counterfeit gems in your hand. You could exchange the counterfeit gem for the real deal and then not get in trouble, because at some point the collector will come up and you'll be penalized if you're caught with that. Bribe, your fake gems are safe for the remainder of the current market day, so you could do that. You could play one of those cards here. The trade option, take all of the gem cards from one store and place them on this card, or take one noble. So you could take one noble, that's what these cards are, and then pay the cost associated with that based on the number shown here. Or like I said, take all the gems from one store and place them on this card. So if I were to play this, I'd pay 3 up here by moving this back 3, and then I'd take a stack of gem cards from one store. So I could take these red here, or that green, or that white, and I'd place it on top, and then at the end of my turn I get to put them into my hand. So I could do that. Purchase. Take all cards from one store, which is up here, or take cards from one brazier booth, which is down here, and place them face up in front of you, and that costs 4 to do that. So basically it's buying these gems and you're collecting. Doppelganger, repeat your previously played action. Same costs but discounted according to this slot. So you can, if you want to do the same thing over again, you could play this doppelganger card, and that would be really, really beneficial. I mean, let's say you really, really needed money, so you could do like Baksheesh twice, for example, if you wanted to do that. So these are the different cards in your deck, and you'll get these back at the end of your turn, but you're going to play 3 of these here, pay the appropriate costs, and that will cause you to either, gain some of these nobles here, or gain some of these gems. And again, you're trying to collect these gems so that you can later then sell them to a jeweler or to a collector, so that you can move these gems up the score track here. And again, this will continue until eventually all of these nobles, some of them will be bought, some of them will move off the table, but eventually this deck will run out. And whenever that deck runs out, that will sort of signal the last round of the game, that will play out, and then players will go ahead and calculate their scores based on where their gems are, and the player with the most points will win the game. And again, you've also got these victory point cards that you'll want to take into consideration should you have any. Alright, so there you have it, a very brief look at Johari. Once again, it's important to stress that I did not cover all of the rules found in the manual. This was just to give you a general overview so that you could see how the game was played. For example, the whole counterfeit thing with regard to these cards here. Whenever someone plays a sale card into one of their 3 slots, the other players will lose one of their counterfeit gem cards. So that's one thing that you'll want to take into consideration. You can use these counterfeit cards whenever you're trying to sell to a collector or jeweler. So you could either try and sell as quickly as possible. If you happen to pick up counterfeit gems, you want to try and get rid of them as quickly as possible, either by selling them here or by using a trade action, which allows you to, I think it's the trade action, or exchange it might be. It's the action that allows you to take one gem from your hand and exchange it for something in here. So you might want to do that so you can get the real deal as opposed to counterfeit. But again, these counterfeit ones tend to be kind of lucrative because there's 3 gems here, whereas the real deal only has 2 here. So you might get more with the counterfeit, but you're taking that risk of being caught with it. So yeah, again, very brief overview, didn't cover everything. As far as what I thought, I think this is a really cool game. 60 minutes is roughly I'd say that's a good estimate there. You're going to need some time to think about what actions you're going to play on your turn, especially because each of these actions has different costs depending on what part of the day you're playing that action. Again, if you play a sale card here, that was worth 2 coin. You have to pay 2 coin, and again, whoever's out front gets to go first. So you may want to think about that before you spend a whole lot of gold. But if you play it, say, here or here, this action is free, and you don't have to move your token up that track. No, it only goes up to 20, by the way. That's another thing I didn't cover. But basically, you move to signify that you've done your turn or played your card for that part of the day. You can move your token up and down like this, just to show other players that, hey, you're done, you finished what you were doing, and that way you can keep track of who's taken their turn. It only goes up to 20. It does not loop around or what have you. So yeah, again, great game, really like it. It's sort of like Jaipur, but I kind of like this a little better than Jaipur. I mean, Jaipur is a really cool game. For those of you that have never played Jaipur, you're collecting gems. It's a set collecting game that involves camels, lots and lots and lots of camels. But it's only for 2 players though. Johari is up to 4 players. So, and this has a little bit more depth to it. So if you like Jaipur, but you want something a bit more meaty, and you have, say, 3 or 4 people, and obviously you can't play Jaipur with 3 or 4 people because it only supports 2, then Johari might be a great alternative game, and it's definitely one that requires a lot of thought associated with it. I mean, you're going to be thinking about what gems you're going to want to move up, and again, whenever you're selling to a jeweler, for example, you only get to pick 1 color out of the 4 that you're turning in, so you really got to think, okay, am I going to go for white here? Am I going to do each gem individually? Or am I going to just focus on white and try to get this up to 20, but leave these guys further behind and hope that, it all depends on what cards come out as the game is played. And, of course, what your opponent is doing. Because, again, you can't sell to a collector unless they have gems of that same type. And then you subtract your number from their number, and that's how many spaces you move up. So there's a lot of cool mechanics. And understandably, it's very overwhelming to new players. I mean, again, you saw how I was jumping around in the beginning of the video trying to explain what everything was. There's a lot of different mechanics here, and it's going to take you some time, especially casual gamers, to get used to how everything comes together. But once you understand how all of these rules and all of these components come together, I think you'll really enjoy it, even though there is a 60-minute play time, and sometimes it's not ideal for nights where you only have a half an hour to play, but I think you can bust out a game pretty quickly once you know what you're doing. But again, sometimes you may take a while thinking about what you're going to do on your turn and what 3 actions you're going to play. I think I just dropped something. Anyway, there you go, Johari. If you guys want to see my written review, you can, www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. If you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you can keep up to date with any new content I happen to publish. This is Vince. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.